Since morning on many television channels, there are a lot of people who say we feel sorry for Sanjay Dutt. My question on the Newshour debate tonight is this. By keeping on talking about how sorry one feels for Sanjay Dutt, how much sympathy one has for Sanjay Dutt, does one discount the gravity of the offence that has been carried out by Sanjay Dutt? Majid Memon, senior advocate, has been part of this trial in the past. Ujjwal Nigam has been special public prosecutor in this case. YC Pawar, former Joint Commissioner of Police. Few people know this case as well as YC Pawar does. Mahesh Bhatt, filmmaker, he also feels sorry for Sanjay Dutt, he said this morning. My first question is to Ram Jethmalani. Mr. Jethmalani,
yes.
Now you too this morning were expressing your regret. You said the court hasn't been unfair on him, but you also feel sorry for him. Now one can feel sorry for a convict, but does that discount what the person has done in this case, Sanjay Dutt?
I'll tell you, Arnab, why I feel sorry. Because one of the purposes of punishment is also reformation and not merely retribution. And I believe that this boy, after this conviction, has had no possible connection with terrorism or terrorists. He seems to have given up all his previous friendships, and he has now established himself as a fairly successful operator in Bollywood. And I think that it was a case in which perhaps the court could have been generous in reducing the sentence. And whether they should have reduced it to a sentence already undergone or even a sentence of 2 years or 2.5 years, but to retain a sentence of 5 years after the sword of Damocles has been hanging over him for so long, I think it's a little unkind. I don't know how the case was presented to the Supreme Court, but on the other hand, if you ask me about merits, Arnab, you are absolutely right. I have appeared for this young man at some stage in the original case when it was before the trial court. I personally think that he acted very, very foolishly in accepting delivery of those arms and receiving them from people who themselves are accused of terrorism. And then he tried to destroy that gun and so on and melt it. It doesn't create a good impression.
Yeah, but Mr. Jethmalani,
I believe
you're indulging him. You're being very indulgent.
The courts were already kind to him. Well, I am indulgent. Sunil Dutt was a great friend of mine. I can't help being indulgent to this boy. I can tell you that. I must confess that my sympathy for him may be a little misplaced or even irrational. But it is very, very natural.
Okay.
Particularly after so many years.
Yep. I understand where you're coming
this
from.
Is all that I wish to tell you. But I personally think that the lower courts have been kind to him when they dropped the charge under the TADA against him.
Mr. Jethmalani, you are such an experienced man. I don't like crossing swords with you. In fact, I'm worried of crossing swords with you on legal issues. But I'm afraid I must tonight, Mr. Jethmalani, because I want to take one point. A point of order on this would be, Majid Memon, my follow-up question. I feel Ram Jethmalani is terribly indulgent tonight. And this is why. Because two women, one point. Because Mr. Memon, Mr. Memon, two women convicted for the same crime like Sanjay Dutt, that is illegal possession of arms while not being involved in the conspiracy, were awarded 5 years rigorous imprisonment by the TADA court. And the TADA court judge said the sentence was a lenient one, considering the age of Qazi, 64 years. So how can one be so lenient on Sanjay Dutt and so tough on the others?
If you would permit me a couple of minutes, I'll just express myself, and substantially I endorse what Mr. Ram Jethmalani has said. I would also add a couple of things. Why sympathies for Sanjay Dutt? Now please understand that Sanjay Dutt has not been held guilty for any terrorist or disruptive activities act. He was only convicted even by the trial court for illegal possession of a weapon, which was a foolish act as rightly called by Mr. Jethmalani. Now listen, 1 minute, Arnav, please give me 1 more minute. Now see, 18 months not only he spent in prison already during the past, but 18 years thereafter, or in all totality of almost 20 years now, he has suffered immensely in his career. And believe me,
so what?
Every time for the past more than a decade, 1 minute, for more than a decade, he had to apply to the court for seeking permission to do his daily course of having some kind of shooting outside India. Now, was this not enough punishment?
No, it was not.
Please look at it from this point of view.
No, it was not.
And secondly, you see, very important, as rightly pointed out, that look here, what purpose is going to be served if a man has made a mistake in the past and has suffered this much? I can understand.
Sir, I don't
if he was found guilty of terrorist act.
Sir, I'm
no
very sorry.
For him.
I'm very sorry, Mr. Majid Memon. You are not just being indulgent, you are being super indulgent. You are forgetting the fact that in July 2010, the CBI sought enhancement in punishment for Zebun-Nisa Qazi, while it did not challenge the punishment handed out to Sanjay Dutt by the Tara court.
That's wrong on the part of CBI.
What this proves,
CBI has made a mistake.
No, sir.
CBI has made a mistake of asking for enhancement of Zebun-Nisa.
No.
I entirely disagree with that.
No.
But
One
then
second.
that would not mean that you should fall on Sanjay Dutt.
No, sir. This is, I'm sorry to say this, celebrity, VVIP, film star come MP's son, and somebody will say, 1 minute, sir. Somebody will say, Sanjay Dutt is given special preferential treatment by the CBI. I want to get in Majid Memon, with your permission, Ujwal Nigam. Ujwal Nigam, what do you respond to the initial observations of Majid Memon in this case? You've been special public prosecutor as well.
Arnav, I am really sorry to note that both my learned friends are expressing their regret for the sentence that has been awarded to senior actor. In fact, I have rather constrained to say that indirectly we are glorifying the image of a criminal. I'm sorry to use this adjective as a criminal because he possessed and acquired a weapon from such person who are deeply involved in the criminal conspiracy behind the blast of 93. Why he had acquired the weapon? Only as a hobby? No, that's not a correct picture. He not only acquired the weapon AK-46 rifle, but he acquired certain hand grenades. He kept certain hand grenades with him for 2 days. Again he returned to those that entire evidence is there. Not it is only his own confession coupled with other incriminating corroborative evidence. That unfortunately, the trial court, that is the Tara judge, has only convicted him under the provisions of the Arms Act. In fact, the charge was against him under Section 5 of the Tara Act. Of course, the Tara court has acquitted him.
That's right.
See, that is a different issue because the prosecuting agency
for Tada. That's the problem.
Mr. Majid Memon, you will appreciate. Mr. Majid Memon, if you are not allowing me to convince my point, then I won't be in a position to
continue.
So, Mr. Majid Memon, kindly remember.
Please carry on.
Mr. Sanjay Dutt acquired a 9 mm pistol from a notorious criminal, that is Mr. Qayyum, who was very close associated to Dawood Ibrahim. And he did acquire without any valid authorized license. Why did he acquire? He said that he acquired all these type of firearms only for the self-protection. When his father was an MP, they were having the police guard. Then he acquired for his own protection. That is absolutely the foolish reason which he had assigned in the trial court. So I don't think that he requires any leniency. And now we should say, no, he being a matinee idol, some leniency should have been shown by the court. No. I think that is, we are overreaching the
Ujwal, don't get excited or emotional, Mr. Ujwal. With respect to you, I must say you would have had a good case.
No, I'm not excited. I'm sorry.
In securing his conviction under Tada. You did not do it. That's why.
Mr. Majid Memon.
You didn't get him.
Mr. Majid Memon. Mr. Majid Memon. Mr. Majid Memon, I have very fundamental issues on this.
That's it.
My first question is,
please.
Is the whole country to believe that Sanjay Dutt was just a young man, by the way, about 33 years old, not that young, a young man who liked to play with arms? And that's why, because the young man wanted to play with arms, he got in touch with Abu Saleh, this Anis Ibrahim, and they came in a car which was carrying the ammunition, and they had made a cavity at the bottom of the car in which all this ammunition was being carried and was being transported. And senior police officials tells me these arms and ammunition was not being transported to supply to Sanjay Dutt to give him 1 or 2 guns. There were hand grenades, there was some serious ammunition aimed at the purpose of creating disturbance, targeting the police, and continuing with a cycle of violence in the city of Mumbai. Now, I don't think Sanjay Dutt was such a lost case. Was Sanjay Dutt such a lost case that he didn't know what was going on?
Arnav, do you think that this learned trial judge did not understand all this? Did he not take into consideration all these facts, this evidence? He did, and yet he held that Sanjay Dutt cannot be convicted for an offence under Terrorist and Disruptive Act. Now, you can't go beyond that. You see,
my question is
all
this.
Facts which have been described here.
We
can't go. And Supreme Court has approved that now.
My question is this.
Supreme Court has approved his exoneration for offences under
Did Sanjay Dutt say? Did Sanjay Dutt say?
We can't discuss this.
Did Sanjay Dutt say that I got the arms at the instance of Anis Ibrahim? Is Anis Ibrahim the younger brother of Dawood Ibrahim or not? Were there several telephone call records which show that Sanjay Dutt was in a constant touch with Anis Ibrahim? Did Sanjay Dutt make telephone calls to Anis Ibrahim's number at the White House in Dubai from his home number or not?
Arnav, these facts were not examined, were not placed before the trial court. Did he not examine that? Did Supreme Court not see all this?
Intercepts cannot be admissible as evidence. Intercepts are not admissible as evidence.
I am sorry to say this, Arnav. I disagree with both you as well as Mr. Nikab. That look here, you can't comment on something which has been not just settled by the trial court.
Mr. Memon, you will agree.
Yes.